Hey, this is RJ May, and you're watching Mr. Mario 2011.
Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and in case you do not know, recently I got a Lenovo Y50 laptop. I purchased a new laptop, and it is the first gaming laptop I've actually ever owned, just because I really haven't needed or wanted one up until now. However, I did want one for kind of on-the-go video editing and some PC gaming on the go. Now, a lot of people have asked me how it can handle games, so what I did was I played a decent amount of games on there, I have run a few benchmarks, and I've recorded them, and I'm going to show them to you all right here. Now, what you are seeing right here on screen is the unboxing of it. I'm going to show the actual game footage here soon. The unboxing, in case you want to see it, is down below in the description. I probably will have a review of this laptop up within a week or two. Honestly, I just need another week or two with this laptop to, really give it a passing review and really give you all my true thoughts on it. Now, the laptop itself has an i7-4710 Intel CPU clocked at 2.5 GHz. It is quad-core. It has an NVIDIA GTX 860M 2GB GPU, a 1TB solid-state hard drive, and 8GB of RAM, and it is capable of displaying 1080p on the screen itself. However, for this test, I'm going to be telling you all what I did before we get into the test. First off, I ran everything through HDMI to my TV, and I was running everything in 1080p, and I only had it set to second display only, so that meant it was only displaying on my TV. I wasn't displaying it on both screens, so I saved a little bit of load right there. Now, when it comes to recording, you are going to see in the top right corner, there is a number there. That is the frames per second. I was running fraps to show you all the frames per second. However, I was not recording using fraps. I recorded using my Game Capture HD, and I recorded all the footage from my laptop using my desktop. So what does this mean? Well, it means while I was recording the footage, there was really minimal to no CPU hindrance on there. There was no program I was running. I was not recording with fraps or shadow play or anything that would bog down that performance. So what you are seeing on screen here is going to be what the laptop would be playing at. Kind of. One big thing as well is that I was recording everything in 30 frames a second, and you're going to see it in 30 frames a second because this is YouTube. So that's why I also have the frames per second counter in the corner. So if it looks kind of weird or a little bit choppier than it should, I mean, most of the time, most of the games did run very smoothly. If they didn't, I'm going to make note of that. However, if it looks a little odd, that is just because of YouTube settings when it comes to videos. Anyways, I've talked enough, so let's go ahead and get through to some game footage. Now, first off, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be knocking out the benchmarks, and then I'm going to do some actual gameplay. But first, I did a BioShock Infinite benchmark. What you are looking at here is the recommended settings that GeForce Experience has to optimize the game. What I did was I optimized it, and then I ran the benchmark at user settings. So what you are seeing is what NVIDIA recommends for my graphics card on this computer, along with everything else. Now, as you can see right here, it's very smooth in some parts, and then when you're moving in hallways specifically and there's some other action going on, it kind of shudders a little bit. That's kind of because of the way the video was recorded, and at the same time the frame rate is dropping from about 60 to sometimes 40 or 35, something like that. But don't worry, this doesn't make the game completely unplayable. For anybody that is new and you're wanting to, get this laptop or get another type of laptop or GPU, the beauty of PC gaming is you can always tune the settings the way you like them. So these were the recommended settings, that's why I used them, and as you can see, even when the frame rate is kind of low, the game still looks very playable. And with a benchmark is designed to really push what your CPU and your GPU and your computer in general is supposed to do. So if you play a game and it runs better than the benchmark, it's really not that surprising. A benchmark is designed to really push your computer. All in all, when looking at the document at the end that it gives you, the average it was running at was about 50 frames a second when it comes to the complete recommended settings. However, you could really turn those up and down as much as you please. Now next up we have Sleeping Dogs. We have the benchmark test for this as well, and unfortunately I couldn't get all the benchmark footage. However, since I do have a decent amount of it, I did want to show you what I have. Now I am going to say up front, when I looked at the report at the end, it did run at about 45 to 50 frames a second, again using the recommended settings, and that was the average frames per second. I noticed normally when there's a bunch of big areas like that, or when there's rain that comes in, anything like that, like right here, it actually handles the rain very well. I completely forgot about this, but I was going to say with the bigger areas with a lot of lights, a lot of lighting, shadow details, that's when it really brings down the frames per second. Unfortunately, I couldn't record all of this, but I figured these two scenes you all would appreciate seeing at least. Now, I really didn't have that many benchmarks because I'll be honest, I kind of wanted to play with the laptop a little bit more, but for our first game, I'm going to be showing you all Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. Now, for this, I used the recommended settings again, and I just showed them to you at the beginning right there, but this game runs at anywhere from 45 to 60 frames a second. Normally, it hovers at around the 50 frames a second mark, and that's actually what I've noticed a lot with these optimized titles. They normally run in about the mid-40, late 40, early 50 frame a second mark. That's what I've noticed with these games. Now again, as I said, you can always go in, you can change the settings here and there, and I was actually very impressed at how playable Shadow of Mordor was at, about 45 frames a second. I was expecting it to be really choppy and everything, and it does kind of fluctuate up and down, which I would expect from a mobile GPU. However, it's still very playable, and I really haven't had an issue with it. It has not affected the gameplay in the slightest, for me at least. Now, I'm not a big fan of Shadow of Mordor, but what I'm trying to say is that frames per second going up and down has not broken gameplay like it has with another game that I'm going to show on here. Now right here, I'm going to be showing this game twice. I'm going to be first showing it with optimal settings, and this is Titanfall. Now the reason why I'm showing this twice is because I have tried playing this at optimal settings, and I mean, sure, it looks pretty and handles okay, but if you're playing a multiplayer first-person shooter, specifically a Twitch shooter like this, the frames per second drops are just not good. Now, at the beginning of this match, you can see it's not really that bad, but then you're going to notice if you just look in the corner, and even if you just look at the gameplay a bit, I mean, the frames per second is just completely unlocked, and it is going all over the place. You're going from, high 50s to low 40s and even high 30s. So sometimes you're getting, a 20 frame per second frame drop in an online game like this. And especially a game like Titanfall, where you really have to be fast with your actions. I'll be honest, it was hard to play on here. Now, I'm not going to have the full match on here, of course, because I just want to touch up on the gameplay, but I really didn't do that well on this, and that is more attributed to the frame rate drops. Now, the Xbox One version does have frame rate drops. However, I didn't feel like they were as big as the ones on here when I had optimal settings. Now, I did finish out the match, but as I said, I just could not deal with those settings, so I decided to dial the settings back a little bit, and let's check out the footage with that. Oh my god, will you look at that. Now, the gameplay looks much more fluid, much smoother on here when I dial the settings back just a little bit, and the settings I used were in the comparison shot that I showed before the first batch of Titanfall footage, so I use the current settings on this right now as opposed to the optimized settings. Now, the reason why I'm showing this is because, one, it shows, as I said, with PC gaming, you could bring down the settings, and it really doesn't take much of a graphical hit on here, I've noticed, but two, I mean, the main difference is just look at this. Now, I didn't dial back settings on other games because they were mostly single player games, and it was okay for that. If it annoys you, you can change the settings. However, when it's an online first person shooter like this, you really can't have those rapid frame rate drops because that will just ruin your game, it will ruin your aim, it will ruin everything, and it will just ruin the experience for you overall if you're experiencing that. But yeah, these are the lower Titanfall settings, so it's not running at locked 60 frames a second. However, it is hovering mostly around there, and by locked, I don't mean, it's going past it, I just mean it's not staying there constantly, but it still handles very well with the lowered settings. Now right here I have Alien Isolation, and this game is actually running maxed out. I have it in the default settings there, I had it set to Ultra, and you probably can't see too much because the game is very dark at parts. However, There is a lot of dynamic lighting, a lot of dynamic shadows on here, some very demanding stuff, and for what it is, I was very impressed that it could handle so well at ultra settings. Now, it does go anywhere from, again, 45 to 60 frames a second. However, it really stays in, the 50-ish frames to second area. So it goes anywhere from, 50 to 60. Sometimes it's going to go down to 45, as I already said. But I've been very impressed with how this game handles. Again, this is a single-player game, so the frame rates I really don't mind too much. And again, this is running at Ultra. So this is really pushing the game right here on this laptop. You can bring the settings down easily, but I was shocked at how well it was playing on Ultra. I thought it was going to be stuttering a lot more. I thought it was going to have a lot of issues. But no, it is more than playable on here, and I've had a decent time playing it. Now, finally, this is going to be the last game I have, and this is going to be a little bit of a story for you all, so get ready for this. Now, I'm going to be showing Ryse Son of Rome. Yes, the game that some people say is the best-looking next-gen game out right now. Now, I disagree with that when it comes to PS4 and Xbox One. Personally, I still think PT is the best-looking game I've seen on either system. However, Ryse does look very, very good. I mean, I'm not going to refute that at all. Now, as you can see, it runs at a constant 60 frames a second right here, and this is during the cutscene. So, that's to be expected. Doesn't look that bad, right? And I didn't show the graphical settings because I just ran them at low. This is just going into the game settings and selecting low mode on there, and this is what you're going to get. So I'm going to show you all right here the gameplay when it actually kicks in. Oh, good God. Yeah, you're seeing that right. That's 2 frames. 2 frames. 1, 2. That's 2 frames a second. Maybe 3 sometimes. I mean, check this out. This was so bad, I had to see what was going on, and I ended up rage quitting on this. I'm not even kidding. Like, I saw this, I was like, no, I cannot be showing this. And check it out. Like, I'm not kidding about this. I go in, and I quit the game just because it was so bad. So what happened was I looked, and I saw that the game was running on integrated graphics, and I'm just like, oh, no, that's not good. I want it to run on my GPU. So I restarted it, and, yeah, I mean, it helped. I'm now running at about 7 to 8 frames a second instead of 2 or 3 frames a second. So now it takes me, 2 hands to count how many frames are going. And I actually do try and play it right here because I'll be honest, I've grown up with crappy PCs before. I've been able to handle stuff, but as you can see, I mean, this is completely unplayable. There's no way you're going to be able to play this. And this is, again, I said at low settings. Now, you might be wondering, really? The laptop really cannot handle this? Well, I have one more clip for you all. I said there was a story behind this. I have one more clip because this is actually my own fault. I ended up changing this up, and check out the performance here. So I had one more trick up my sleeve to think what it might have been. I tried it out, and check it out! The game is actually playable now. Now you might be wondering, Mario, what happened? Well, first off, as I said the first time, it was actually running on integrated graphics. That's one thing with this laptop. There's going to be sometimes, because it has technically 2 GPUs in there, it has the integrated GPU, and it has the actual GPU, which is the 860M. Sometimes you are going to have to right-click the shortcut and force it to display with the NVIDIA 860M, or just go into your control panel and change the settings there. Now, the issue and the remedy with all of this was I was doing these benchmarks at multiple different times and sittings. Now, this time when I was doing this benchmark, what I did was I had my laptop closed and sitting in my entertainment center. Well, the laptop actually cools through the keyboard, and it has a cooling component right underneath the screen, kind of where the hinge is between the laptop body itself and the screen body. So because of that, I was cutting off a major source of air, and when I opened up the laptop, it started cooling. I could hear it, the fans picking up a little bit, and bam. As you can see, we were able to jump a significant frame rate. Now with the game, how it actually handles, I will say I'm very impressed. It is running at low, but I will say I've played this game multiple times on Xbox One, and low on PC is about equivalent, or I swear I think it even looks a little bit better than the Xbox One version, just, without changing any settings on there. And this is 1080p, this is low settings on the PC version. Now when it comes to handling, it goes anywhere from, it likes to hover in the low to mid 20 frames a second-ish area. So you're going to see, a lot of 21, 22, 25 frames a second on here. I would have liked it to be higher. I really wanted it to be higher than 30 frames a second. It's kind of disappointing that it doesn't get up there, but it is a mobile GPU, which that is what I was expecting from it at the same time. And the game does look really good. This is a really demanding game for low settings, and it's still playable if you don't mind that frame rate. As you can see here, I'm really not having an issue playing with it. However, if you do want to play this game at a higher frame rate, either get a desktop, get an Xbox One, I guess you could say, or get a laptop with a higher mobile GPU, and you should be good to go. But as I said, this game is very demanding on low settings. I was very impressed with it. And I'm still impressed that it can play it at this rate. However, it would be nice if it could do anything, higher than 25, 30 frames a second. Well, that is it. As I said, all of the footage that you just saw was not filmed using the laptop, so none of that was hit performance-wise. That is going to be very close to, if not the exact performance, that you're really going to be getting out of this laptop from those games right there. Those are all running at 1080p, and I can say this, if you are going to be gaming on this on a TV, make sure you have the laptop open, or if you're using a second monitor, make sure you do that so it could cool down and play your games properly. Now, some people might be fussing at me and asking, why didn't I use a benchmarking tool? Why didn't I run this game or that game? Listen, these are the games I had on hand. These are the games I want to try, and I wanted to do a casual approach on this. I didn't want to go, all Linus Tech Tips or anything, big like that on here. I just wanted to kind of do it in a casual manner, I guess just as an average gamer perspective, if you are wanting to pick this up. Because I'll be honest, if you really want to get serious with your games, I don't really recommend picking up a laptop for gaming in general. I would just recommend building yourself a nice desktop if you're looking for that. However, if you're looking for an on-the-go option, maybe this video convinced you, maybe it didn't. Personally, I'm happy with it, but that is just me. Some people might want more, some people might want less. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.